The movie starts with a live band playing at a cozy cafe on an island called Island. The cafe is owned by a man named Alvarez, who is immediately taken with the band's lead singer, Nora.
Please, come join me.
He invites her to join him at his table and praises her beauty and amazing voice. He is so impressed that he offers her a special deal, a 1-year contract to perform at the cafe every Saturday night with 3 times the usual pay. Nora, thrilled by the offer, happily agrees. Not long after, Alvarez asks a bartender to bring Nora some wine, but in a clumsy accident the bartender spills the wine all over her dress. Nora, trying to stay calm, says she can change and it's no big deal. However, Alvarez is furious. He is hosting an important guest and doesn't want them to see someone with a ruined dress. In a shocking move, Alvarez kills the bartender right in front of Nora.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. You should be sorry.
She is horrified and terrified, realizing that Alvarez is not just a nice cafe owner. He is a ruthless and dangerous person. As the story unfolds, we learn that Alvarez is actually the leader of a powerful American mafia, and he has been living on the island for 4 years, building his illegal empire. Next, the scene shifts to Los Angeles, where we meet Mark, a police chief, and his partner Phil. The two are undercover, pretending to be criminals while they plan a deal at the airport.
Get serious.
Soon enough, the real criminals show up. Mark steps forward to grab the illegal goods, while Phil is ready to exchange the money.
We happy?
Suddenly, Phil surprises everyone by attacking one of the dealer's henchmen, and a wild fight breaks out.
Hey, LAPD, motherfucker, drop it, drop it.
In the middle of the chaos, Mark's phone rings. It's his mom calling from their hometown. She tells him that his brother has been found dead. Mark is shaken by the news and immediately rushes back to his hometown, which turns out to be on the same island where he had met Alvarez. Soon after, Mark arrives on the island and attends his brother's funeral. It's a heartbreaking moment when he learns that his little brother was the bartender who had been killed by Alvarez just days before. Mark's mother is completely devastated by the loss of her youngest child. There are whispers among the people that Mark's brother may have been murdered by gangsters as he was heading home from work. To Mark's shock, Alvarez and his 2 henchmen appear at the funeral to offer their condolences.
So sorry for your loss.
After the funeral, Mark and his mom return home. As Mark looks through old pictures of him and his brother, he realizes that it has been 11 years since he last visited the island. His job as a police chief had kept him away for so long. With a heavy heart, Mark makes a silent vow to find the person responsible for his brother's death and take revenge. The next day, Mark goes to the island's police station. He heads straight to the office of the police chief, who turns out to be his childhood friend, B. The two share a warm and familiar greeting, showing how close they were. B expresses his sympathy for Mark's loss and promises to begin an investigation right away. Mark asks if there are any clues about who might have killed his brother. B explains that they know the killers are from a gang, but with so many gangs on the island, it will take time to figure out which one is responsible.
There's been a lot of crime here on the island since you've been gone, especially with gangs from neighboring islands coming here to party.
While at the station, Mark runs into Ayla, a martial arts instructor. To his surprise, she's also his ex-girlfriend. After 11 years, she's clearly happy to see him again. They talk for a while, with Ayla offering her condolences for his brother's death. Mark asks her if she knows anything about his brother's routine and which gang might be involved in the murder. Ayla tells Mark that she isn't sure which gang was responsible because many new gangs had arrived after Mark left the island. However, she does know that Mark's younger brother worked with an American man named Alvarez. She shares that Alvarez was not just a simple cafe owner. He was actually the leader of a dangerous mafia. The cafes he owned were just a cover for his real business, which involved illegal weapons and goods. When Mark hears this, he becomes suspicious of Alvarez and decides he needs to confront him directly. Before Mark leaves, he asks Ayla to take care of his mother and make sure she gets home safely, worried that she might be in danger. Soon after, Mark goes to Alvarez's cafe. As he arrives, Alvarez's right-hand man tries to stop him, but Alvarez himself steps in and allows Mark to enter. Without wasting any time, Mark asks Alvarez straight away if he knows who was behind his brother's death. Alvarez quickly comes up with a story, claiming that Mark's brother was killed by strangers while returning home from a late shift. Mark doesn't buy it, and with a firm voice he warns Alvarez that he would never forgive him if he was involved in the murder. Alvarez just laughs and brushes off Mark's threats, clearly not worried since Mark is just a regular police officer. Then Alvarez casually gives Mark the location of a cafe where gangsters often gather. He suggests that Mark ask the gangsters there, as they might know who was behind his brother's death.
This is not the same island you grow up on. Not anymore.
As Mark leaves, Alvarez quietly orders his right-hand man to gather gangsters from the north and take care of Mark that very night. Meanwhile, Mark stops by to visit his best friend, who runs a hot dog stand. He asks about some weapons he had left with him. His friend explains that the weapons were hidden in an empty building near the beach, buried for safekeeping. As the story unfolds, it becomes clear that when Mark and his best friend were teenagers, they were like leaders on the island. They had the respect of everyone around them. But after Mark left for Los Angeles, the island began to attract dangerous foreign gangs and mafia groups who were hungry for power and control. Mark's best friend understands that Mark will be determined to seek revenge for his brother's death, and knowing this, he promises to help Mark whenever he needs it. After their conversation, Mark goes to a secluded building near the beach. There, he digs up the weapons his best friend had hidden for him, preparing for the next step in his mission. As night falls, Mark makes his way to the cafe that Alvarez had mentioned. He enters, immediately turning off the loud music, and walks straight up to the gangsters sitting there. He demands to know who is responsible for his brother's death. The gangsters don't take kindly to his accusation. They attack him, and a brutal fight breaks out.
Not here to hurt anyone. Okay?
But Mark, using all his strength and skill, is able to fight them off and subdue them. Once the gangsters are down, Mark again asks who killed his brother. The gang leader firmly denies any involvement in the crime, claiming they don't harm locals. Just as Mark is about to push further, a group of gangsters from the north, sent by Alvarez, burst into the cafe with guns in hand. They open fire on Mark. Thankfully, Mark manages to dodge the bullets and narrowly escape the gunfire. What follows is a tense chase through the streets. During the pursuit, Mark is able to take down one of the attackers, and eventually he finds a place to hide. The gangsters search for him, but he manages to stay out of sight long enough for them to lose his trail.
You guys see him anywhere?
Soon after, the gang leader calls Alvarez to report that they have lost track of Mark. Alvarez, furious, orders his gang to take a different approach and eliminate Mark's mother. Back at Mark's house, the gang arrives and barges in, expecting to find Mark's mother asleep in bed. They fire at what they think is her, but when they get closer, they realize it is just a pillow. Ayla, Mark's ex-girlfriend, had taken the necessary precautions to protect his mother, and she had swapped the pillow for her. Later, Mark and B, the police chief, arrive at Mark's house to examine the crime scene. As they look around, Mark can't shake the thought that if he hadn't trusted Ayla to protect his mother, she could have been the one attacked. Just then, B tells Mark that he has received some new information from his informant about his brother's murder. He explains that there was a witness to the crime, a female singer named Nora. He goes on to tell Mark that Nora lives at a motel near the church in room number 18. B suggests that Mark go and speak to Nora directly to learn more about who killed his brother. The next day, Mark heads to the motel to find Nora. When he arrives at her room, Nora hesitates to open the door. She's worried that Mark might be one of Alvarez's men sent to harm her. Mark quickly shows her his police badge, reassuring her that he's not a threat. Relieved, Nora opens the door and they begin to talk. Mark promises Nora that he'll help her escape the island safely if she agrees to tell him the truth about who killed the bartender, who we now know was his younger brother. Nervously, Nora confesses that Alvarez killed Mark's brother, all because he accidentally spilled wine on her dress. She explains that she's been trapped on the island ever since because Alvarez fears she might go to the police with what she knows.
Alvarez.
Yes.
Shocked by the truth, Mark quickly helps Nora leave her room. He then meets up with B and asks him to take Nora to the pier, ensuring she gets off the island without any trouble. B agrees and drives Nora to the pier, while Mark begins planning how he will take revenge on Alvarez for his brother's death. Meanwhile, Alvarez is making his own plans. He orders his mercenaries to track down Mark and bring him in. A few hours later, the mercenaries arrive on the island and head straight to Mark's house, determined to find him. Meanwhile, Mark's mother and Ayla are at Mark's house. Mark has made a plan to leave his mother in Ayla's care while he prepares to confront Alvarez. Just as they're getting ready, the sound of a car pulling up breaks the silence. It's the team of mercenaries Alvarez sent to find Mark. In a hurry, Mark grabs a weapon and quickly leads his mother and Ayla to the back of the house for safety. Two of the mercenaries stay near the car, while the other two move inside the house. As they search, the mercenaries notice signs that Mark may have gone out the back. They immediately head out in pursuit. Mark tries to stay one step ahead, but the two mercenaries catch up to him. A gunfight breaks out between them. Meanwhile, the other two mercenaries guarding the car spot B. A fierce shootout ensues. But B manages to drive them off and escape without being hurt. Back with Mark, he's still trying to fight off one of the mercenaries, while the other manages to slip away.
Yo, you good?
I'm good.
Mom, you okay?
Yeah, I was shaken, but I'm okay.
Mark then gets a call from B checking in on his location. Mark tells B that he's now with his mother and Ayla, hiding out at his best friend's house, the one who runs the hot dog stand. The scene then shifts to Alvarez and his right-hand man. They're in a hotel room looking for Nora. Alvarez's anger grows when he realizes that Nora is missing. In a fit of rage, he shoots and kills the hotel guard, blaming him for not protecting Nora. On the other hand, Mark arrives at his best friend's place, determined to leave his mother and Ayla in safety while he goes after Alvarez to seek revenge for his brother's death. His best friend, the hot dog seller, greets Mark's mother and Ayla warmly. But as Mark is about to leave, Ayla insists on coming with him. Mark tries to stop her, worried about her safety, but Ayla is determined. After a brief argument, they decide to face this danger together. Later that evening, Mark and Ayla wait for Chief of Police B to arrive. They've made a plan to confront Alvarez together.
Because guys like him don't end up in jail like Hila.
Mark, he's never going to stop.
And neither am I.
Soon, B's car pulls up, but to their surprise, B doesn't get out. Concerned, Mark and Ayla rush to check on him. To their horror, they find B badly wounded. Before they can react, gunfire rings out as Alvarez's remaining mercenaries launch an attack. In the chaos, the mercenaries manage to capture Ayla, while Mark desperately tries to help the dying B. As B struggles to stay conscious, he urges Mark to keep fighting for justice and to protect the island from criminals like Alvarez. With his last breath, B encourages Mark to save the island from the hands of these ruthless people. The next morning, the local church is filled with people attending a service. Mark arrives and stands before the congregation. His voice full of passion, he speaks to the people, rallying them against the oppression they've been suffering at the hands of outsiders. He tells them about Alvarez, the man behind the criminal activities that have hurt their island. Mark reminds them that this fight is not just about his brother's death, but also for B, their beloved police chief, and Ayla, who has been kidnapped. His words move the people, and they agree to stand with him against Alvarez. After the meeting, Mark heads to the police station, where he now steps in as the acting chief of police, taking over from B. He gathers the officers and tells them that their new mission is to take down Alvarez.
That I will be here, waiting for Alvarez.
As he works on gathering information about Alvarez's operations, he is interrupted by a visit from his old partner Phil, who has come from Los Angeles. Phil came to find Mark on purpose because he was worried about Mark's long absence from Los Angeles. When they finally speak, Mark explains that he won't return until he has dealt with Alvarez, the man who killed his brother and is holding Ayla hostage. Phil, understanding the gravity of the situation, immediately offers his help, treating Mark's problem as his own. Later that afternoon, Mark receives a call from Alvarez. It seems Alvarez has figured out that Mark was behind Nora's escape. Alvarez then makes a proposal. They will meet at 7 a.m. the next day for an exchange, Nora for Ayla. He promises that after the exchange, he will leave Mark alone, as long as Mark agrees to forget everything Alvarez has done. Mark doesn't want to accept, but he reluctantly agrees to the terms. Deep down, though, he knows he could never forgive Alvarez, not until he has taken his revenge. On top of that, Nora has already left the island, so Mark can't bring her to the exchange the next morning, making the situation even more complicated. After the call, Mark immediately contacts Phil and asks him to gather a team with the local police. He makes Phil the leader of the operation to rescue Ayla during the meeting with Alvarez the following morning. Phil agrees without hesitation, ready to follow Mark's plan and do whatever it takes to help. The next day, Mark stands nervously at the meeting spot, waiting for Alvarez. Meanwhile, Phil and his team of local police officers sneak into Alvarez's headquarters to rescue Ayla. They are almost immediately confronted by one of Alvarez's mercenaries, but Phil acts quickly, taking down the threat with ease. Back at the meeting point, Mark finally comes face to face with Alvarez and one of his trusted men. Without wasting any time, Alvarez demands to know where Nora is. Mark, trying to buy some time, lies and says that Nora will show up once Ayla arrives. He keeps his focus on waiting for updates from Phil, who is in the middle of rescuing Ayla. Meanwhile, Phil has found Ayla, but he is now facing a mercenary who has him at gunpoint with no way out. Phil has no choice but to surrender. Thankfully, his team eventually manages to take out the mercenaries, and they are able to free Ayla. Phil wastes no time in calling Mark to let him know Ayla is safe with him. Hearing this, Mark reassures him that Nora is safe in Los Angeles and will not be coming back to the island. However, Alvarez then threatens to harm Ayla unless Mark does as he is told. Mark, speaking calmly, tells Alvarez that his henchmen are no longer a threat. His team has taken care of them. Furious, Alvarez orders his right-hand man to shoot Mark, but Mark is quicker, disarming and incapacitating Alvarez's man with expert skill. Just when it seems like things are about to take a terrible turn, something unexpected happens. Out of nowhere, the hot dog seller and the island locals appear, surrounding Alvarez and his men, all of them armed and ready for a fight. Mark quickly raises his hands and urges everyone to lower their weapons. He proposes a solution, a duel between him and Alvarez to settle things once and for all. After a moment of hesitation, Alvarez reluctantly agrees to the challenge. Without wasting any more time, the duel begins. Mark, with fierce determination, replicates the exact move that Alvarez had used to kill his younger brother. The scene shifts to Mark and Ayla, now alone on the beach. They share a quiet, intimate moment, their bond clearly stronger than ever. It is obvious they are officially back together and planning to marry soon. Soon after, Phil invites Mark to return to Los Angeles with him, but Mark declines, explaining that he feels a deep responsibility to stay and protect the island from outsiders who might try to take control.